across the sea of life, so much pain, warring divides. It's a shame we don't see how it can be. Oh, we need to smile at each other, wish for your brother, help one another. All we need is love.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all.
Honor our mother, shelter our sisters, all to existence. God's help will come from up above, but first we need the love.
Welcome to another episode of the Yfactor, listeners. Today is Thursday the 17th of November and we're here for another awesome Yfactor episode. Joining me in the studio as a co-host today is Murisa Hassanovic, all the way from Melbourne. Welcome to the show, Murisa.
Thanks, Tasnim.
Alright, Murisa, subhanAllah, a lot has been happening in the global sphere and the national sphere, so we'll just get started on the news items for this week. In Syria, a regional diplomacy move was actually intensified as President Bashar al-Assad faced challenges on two fronts. One front is the actual army defectors who actually have attacked intelligence headquarters near Damascus, and on another front he's actually dealing with the Arab foreign ministers who actually are trying to come up with some sort of ceasefire plan to stabilize the issue in the region. Now this mainly stems from the fact that after the Arab League actually issued their statement and Syria hasn't abided by this, a lot of people have said, like Assad's promises and things like that aren't getting anywhere. The violence is escalating. A lot of people in Homs and Hama have actually died in the last week. And Reuters actually quoted anti-Assad activists saying that a gunfire actually erupted after the attack as helicopters circled the area in Damascus. So it's actually really sad to see this happening in Syria, and it just kind of seems like, okay, Assad, time to step down. What the hell's happening in this region?
The Yfactor.
Now, unless you've been living under a rock, I don't think you won't realise that President Obama has actually stepped foot in Australia. Now, amid the cheers and the hoorays for President Obama and, the lovely primary school kids giving him hugs, a lot of people are actually very cynical about this move by Obama to come to Australia. Now, the main reason behind Obama's visit is actually to meet with Julia Gillard to boost the number of US troops that will train in Northern Australia and also open up another army base in Darwin. Australia will play host to US Marine Task Force of 25,000 troops by 2016. And it's actually interesting because many have seen this as kind of, a political game to kind of threaten China, and also preparation for the war on Iran. Some have been saying, boosting the military presence. And it's actually really sickening to see that, because it's kind of like, as if the world needs more wars. And in interesting news, like while Obama's here establishing military bases, the White House is actually being under attack, the presidential wing. Police yesterday arrested a 21-year-old man suspected of shooting at the White House after federal agents found two bullets that actually hit the mansion. So yeah, while maybe Obama should protect his own bloody presidential palace before establishing a military base here. Now, Murisa, what were you saying about Darwin? What did they actually do in Darwin with the...
In preparation for Obama's visit, what they actually have done, they've they've asked all the homeless people in the area to be moved somewhere else while he's there.
To clear out,
yeah, and just for a while.
That's crazy.
For whatever reason.
Oh, I don't know. I just think it's totally ridiculous, and that's what they did, when China had their Olympics, to kind of give that image that, everything's fine, our country's so beautiful. Anyway, well, that's Australian news today.
The Yfactor.
Now, speaking of presidents, Nauru, a tiny South Pacific nation, has actually elected their third president in 1 week. seriously, I'm not kidding, right? Their actual, their earlier president, Freddie Pitcher, was ousted in a no confidence vote. And basically, a government spokesperson has actually said that the MP switched allegiance to the opposition, who was actually appointed late on Tuesday after defeating Pitcher in a 9-8 parliamentary vote. The move came just 5 days after Pitcher became president, with his predecessor Marcus Stephan amid corruption allegations, and he called him unwarranted and mischievous. Now, it's actually really interesting. So, 3 presidents in 1 week. We'll see if they, change again. Now, Nauru is actually one of the smallest nations in the world, with less than, Murisa, get this, 10,000 residents only. It's actually funny to see that, Abbott's plan is to send the asylum seekers there, because I think, in time they'll probably outnumber the actual native population of the area.
The Yfactor.
Now, Murisa, do you feel, in your opinion, that after 9/11 anti-Muslim sentiments have actually increased around the world?
I think 9/11 probably has helped fuel anti-Muslim sentiments.
I think it's interesting you say that, because a Huffington Post study showed that anti-Muslim hate crimes soared by an astounding 50% last year, skyrocketing over 2009 levels. And basically this year was marked with vicious anti-Islamic rhetoric. And this especially came after the Ground Zero mosque that was actually proposed to be built where the Twin Towers, used to be. Now, this is really, really sad, because the latest statistics showing a jump from 107 anti-Muslim hate crimes in 2009 to 160 in 2010. This is actually just reflecting the clear, negative sentiments that are dominating in the media. Yeah, in the media and in society. And I know a lot of these were the ones that were actually reported. Now, a lot of incidents don't go reported, and a lot of times, for example, if someone just gets abused out or shouted at or given a dirty look, they don't actually get reported. So it's actually really frightening to see that this is what's happening in the world. Now, having said that, it's interesting that that hasn't actually stopped people from researching into Islam and becoming Muslims. In Britain, a study has shown that 5,200 Britons converted to Islam in the last year alone, and more than half of these are white, and 75% of these are actually women. Now, in the past 10 years, some 100,000 British people have actually converted to Islam. This is a very, very significant increase over the last decade. So it's actually really interesting to see from one side a lot of anti-Islamic, rhetoric increasing and things like that. But then from another side, mashallah, like a lot of people are actually embracing Islam and, seeing it as a way of life. And women, in fact, because, usually it's like, oh, Islam oppresses women and things like that. But it's actually really interesting to see that, these converts aren't even buying into this whole hysteria.
Yeah, in saying all that, though, even though we have so many converts, and then on the other hand, there's so much
anti-Muslim hysteria. Yep.
Yes, that's an indication of how much more work we as Muslims, as individuals, have to do and have to work on, because all this anti-Muslimness
sentiments,
is there's a reason why that's the case, and obviously because of people's ignorance or wherever they've got the information from would be the wrong sources, because as we know, Islam is not
exactly
that.
But no, you're right, because I think there's no fire without smoke, as they say, or whatever. So I think you're very correct, because a lot of the times is these people don't just have these sentiments out of the blue. It's usually due to an action of so-called Muslims that they have seen, and due to this they perpetuate these stereotypes and things like that. So I think you're right. As Muslims, we have a very, very strong burden to bear in terms of dispelling those stereotypes on the one hand. And on the other hand, actually is providing support to these converts, because I know a lot of time, converts in our communities feel ostracized. They feel like they're second class, Muslims, and that Muslims just don't see them as legitimate, which is really, really sad, because subhanAllah, like, these people have chosen Islam into their life, and we should, be appreciating them and giving them the support that they need.
The Yfactor.
Now, for our HSC listeners who actually just completed, their exams, if you thought, studying and actually sitting the exams was actually really, gross and horrendous, karma's getting your markers back in a really weird way. A study has shown that the actual conditions under which the supervisors are marking the HSC papers is just totally gross. Murisa?
Markers inside the Paddington Pavilion in Sydney Olympic Park have been complaining about the conditions under which they have to actually mark the papers. They've been forced to work amongst the stench of animal waste. Even though they're getting paid about $75 an hour to actually mark the papers. If you remember Monday being an extremely hot day, and
I'm sure the odour from the surroundings must have been toxic.
Extremely, especially they didn't really have proper air conditioning happening and all that. So it's been an overpowering experience, I guess.
Literally. No, I think it's crazy. Like, I don't know, I propose to overhaul this whole system because, getting students to study is child labour and getting the teachers to mark is adult labour in such conditions. So let's just get rid of the HSE. So that's our main news items for this week. Now, just in a couple of wacky news stories, this is the cutest story ever. It's actually not cute. It's pretty gruesome, but it's cute. A man in South Africa was actually mauled by his pet hippo. The hippopotamus is actually called Humphrey. Now, this guy isn't, your average blow. He's actually a major. The 40-year-old was actually mauled by his own hippo. And his body was actually found in the river that the hippo was actually originally rescued from, which is pretty sad. Now, this guy actually said, Humphreys is like a son to me. He's just like a human. There's a relationship between me and Humphrey that just some humans don't understand. Now, I don't know. Seriously. Now, I don't know if, it was a part of the relationship that he's going to eat him or whatever. But he's actually sad but funny. So, yeah, that's the wacky news with the hippo. Now, this is actually really funny. For those of you guys, planning to go overseas at the end of the year, be very careful which airlines you actually get with, because this Austrian airline held its passengers ransom until they forked out $31,000. Comtel Air, basically, it's an Austrian airline flying from India to Britain. They actually held more than 180 passengers on the chartered flight on the tarmac until they actually paid. And this was because the airline apparently ran out of cash to fund the last leg of its trip. And as a result, the passengers were actually threatened that their luggage would be removed if they didn't all pay, and they ended up paying around $780 each, which ended up being $31,000.
Is that even legal?
I have no idea, but yeah, so next time you're planning to fly Austria, I think again.
So what would you do? You can't go and get another flight because that might be too expensive.
No, they're already on the tarmac, so they can't leave, they can't get on the flight. I have no idea, man. This Europe and what's happening recently is just going crazy. God help them. And that's just, very interesting. So, guys, that brings us to the end of the news segment for this week. Stay tuned. Inshallah, we have a very, very exciting episode coming up. Inshallah, our interviews with two very, very inspirational people in the Muslim community are about what motivated them to cause changes in the Muslim community and achieve, subhanAllah, the, very, very high achievements that they've actually come to achieve. We interview Sabrine El Khodr, who is the former director of Green Scarf Day and also the current director of Muslims Without Borders, and we interview Subhi Al Shaik, who is the director of One Islam Productions and Zaki for Kids. So with that, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Yfactor on 87.6 FM.
Drowns us all inside. What you have should be what I want, 'cause what I have just ain't alright. The clothes I wear, the way I comb my hair, how I live, oh, I don't care. This is who I am, this is me. Nothing, everything, can't you see who I am? Just let me be, 'cause like it or not, but God loves me, who I am. He said, she said, they all did what's expected of them all. To get to the top don't matter if somebody's gotta fall. You gotta brace the storm, the norms to conform. Get what you want's gonna kill us all. This is who I am, this is me. Nothing, everything, can't you see? Who I am, just let me be. Cause like it or not, but God loves me. Who I am, who I am, who I am.
Welcome back from the break, guys. Joining me in the studio today is brother Subhi Al Shaik, the director of One Islam Productions and One for Kids. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, sister.
Now, mashallah, I know some people have heard about you, and if they haven't heard about you personally, they've heard about, mashallah, One Islam Productions, or they've seen the DVDs, or they've seen Zaki, and they've seen, what's lying around and stuff. At the Yfactor, we wanted to get the behind the scenes on, what made One Islam, what was the vision behind it, and who the man is that actually, was the inspiration behind, mashallah, all this great work. So, brother Subhi, can you just tell us a bit about yourself, please?
Okay, originally Lebanese, whether you want to know or not. Alhamdulillah, sometimes in life, you don't know what's going to inspire you. You don't know what direction you're going to take in life. Probably from about 5 years before I will say came back to Islam. Some people say, are you a revert? I said, well, I don't know if I'm a Muslim when I'm not praying and living that jahil type of life. But coming back to Islam in probably 1999, spent 5 years prior just trying to get a record deal, producing songs. We got songs played on Today FM. It just kind of got to the stage where it was getting really big. And then one day my mum decides to tell me that, you ever heard of Cat Stevens? And I said, yeah, of course. Every musician knows Cat Stevens. And then he said, well, him and your uncle in London are like best friends. I asked my mum, well, okay, how long has it since you've seen your brother in London? She said, 12 years. I said, well, I booked a ticket, I think, the same day and got my demo ready and going to meet Cat Stevens, not knowing that Cat Stevens is now Yusuf Islam.
Subhanallah.
And he's, not involved in the music industry as much. So I think I just stepped straight off the airport into my uncle's car, into his house, and he just grabbed the phone and said, here's Yusuf, speak to him now.
Whoa.
I said, what? Give me some time to prepare. So he threw the phone on. I was like just this little girl on the phone, all excited and didn't know what to say. And I just couldn't believe I was on the phone with Cat Stevens, a legend, and now our brother Yusuf Islam, as we know. And yeah, he straight away said, yeah, bring your CD demo over and I'll have a listen to it. And
Did you explain what the song was?
well, I said he obviously knew, he could see from my voice, but you could see as he's speaking to me, he had a big smile on his face as this young guy who's ambitious, he wants a record deal, get into the music industry. Because we had sort of reached our heights in Sydney, we had been on radio and some, big so-called parties and New Year's Eve bashes and all that. And I wanted to take it to another level, just the nature as always, you want to progress fast. So I thought you're going to someone who at one stage was pretty much bigger than the Beatles and bigger than Michael Jackson, and here he is with your demo album. So pretty much he listened to it and everything, and then the next day he had to travel, as he always does, and he sent me a letter of fax and just told me, look, as much as I want to help, I've kind of left that industry and it's not really the best industry. And probably one line in that he actually faxed it to my uncle's house, and one line in that fax that probably woke me up, I think, subhanAllah, I had to travel all the way to London to get that bit of inspiration, the turning point as I call it. And he just said something in that line that, my religion does not, give you any, what's the word I'm looking for?
Accommodate?
Yeah, like it doesn't accommodate, or it's not really made for the music business. It's surrounded by drugs and alcohol, and we know all the rest. And when I thought, your religion, that's my religion. But then that's when I woke up and thought, nah, Subhi, I think your religion, you've given it to him, and now you're almost, like I say to people, like he threw out the trash, and I'm going through his trash, and my treasure I've lifted, and he's taken my treasure, which is Islam.
Subhanallah. And
at that point I thought, I think I travelled to Paris and Beirut and came back home, and the whole time I was just thinking about this, that someone's taken my religion and he's actually on the right path now. He's left the heights of the, they used to say that he was on top of the world, and then now he puts his head on the ground,
Subhanallah.
Praying 5 times a day, and he's content and happy, alhamdulillah. So coming back, typically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a plan for us, and we found a record deal waiting for us, a 3-year record deal, and it was with the same management as Backstreet Boys before they had come out, and I had got in, and and subhanAllah, at the same time I started reading the biography of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As growing up as youth, this one thing, we hear Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we hear this, we hear that, this Prophet. But my advice to the youth is just read the biography of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you'll be blown away.
Yeah, somehow to get that first-hand experience of who this amazing man was.
You'll just fall in love with this man, and subhanAllah, and that's where my sort of change happened. I had a record deal in one hand, and I had the biography. I was in the studio with the guys, and I was reading this book, couldn't take it out of my hand, and yeah, just like that.
That sounds like a midlife crisis there.
It was. It's sort of, should I go in there? As we think we'll become famous and all the rest of it, and then, then come to the deen. But I'm thinking, Subhi, you're throwing yourself out to the wolves. You might not come back alive. You could die tonight. You could die on your way to the studio. You could die traveling to some country. I thought, do you want to take that path? So I started to make a lot of istikhara, and being a songwriter, a lot of my songs, the studio wanted to take, but they wanted to own the rights. So that was the point where I thought, well, you can't have my songs unless you can use them, but they're mine. And a little bit of back and forth when I finally said, that's the sign, I'm out.
SubhanAllah.
And I completely left the industry, and, haven't looked back till probably Zaki forced me back in there, hit songs. And
Hey, that's halal, it's G-rated.
Alhamdulillah. People said, do songs, and I'm not a fan of reinventing the wheel, so I thought, okay, let me do some would say music's halal, some's haram. It was this debate that couldn't get, answered. So I thought, look, Zayn Bika's doing a great job, even Yusuf Snam's doing a great job. So many artists out there. I thought there's no need for me to make nasheeds. And, with the whole music, non-music and debate, I just thought anything you're in doubt of, just kind of stay away from it. And that was it. I just sort of thought, what else? What does the Muslim Ummah need? And I looked around, and I used to walk into stores and buy every single DVD and CD in there, and found that probably 90% of them I threw in the rubbish because you couldn't hear it or you couldn't see the picture properly. I thought the most beautiful religion, or the true religion, is being represented by, the worst of quality. And that I said, nah, someone's got to do something. I tried to use some of my savings from the past till that wore out and gone. I tried to get funding, and then 9/11 hit, and then it was almost like everyone was just scared to deal with anyone. Everyone was, so 9/11 kind of changed the world, and then I had to go alone and do it all alone. And alhamdulillah, a lot of family and friends and good brothers and sisters that just loaned us money, and we paid them back till we kind of established One Islam Productions. You probably noticed the word one seems to be in all our organisations, with one for kids, one media, one Islam. Because I just found that disunity was another issue with the Muslims, people not networking, was kind of something I found a bit hurtful, that, being Muslim should be enough for us to work together and love one another and be tolerant. And yet we were trying to be tolerant with every other religion, but
except ours,
home, our backyard was a bit of a mess.
Speaking of the Muslim community, we often, a lot of the youth feel like when they want to do something, they face a lot of obstacles within the actual Muslim community, who, seem to find every possible, impediment to put in their way. You came up with the idea, mashallah, of, entering, starting a Islamic production studio. What were the sentiments like at that moment? Because a lot of people, just equate anything entertainment related, or not even entertainment related, like the word studio is just like astaghfirullah, fasad, blah blah blah. What were the sentiments at the time?
Look, I took the safe approach in terms of anything, and this is another advice to every Muslim out there, is anytime you have a problem, we all love to ask our mashaykh, and may Allah reward them, and it's good to ask your mashaykh. But if you get different of opinion, there's one shaykh that you should go to that I recommend, and that's the Prophet ﷺ.
For a second, you gave me a heart attack. I thought you're not saying Sheikh Google.
This guy, or is it Sheikh? This guy, no.
Yeah.
This Sheikh's been around. He's the most beautiful human being. He's our best friend. He's, there's so much good you can say about him. There's nothing bad you can say about him. And books of hadith, there's his life. I personally found a lot of, the rights and wrongs that I got, the halal, haram. I didn't, there are ahadith, but also ahadith, there's debates on weak and all the rest of it. When you read the life of the Prophet ﷺ, you'll find that he's going through almost what we're going through. Hardship. Should I leave Sydney and go somewhere safe because there's too much fasad? When he left to Medina, how did he deal with that? How did he deal with having a neighbour that's a non-Muslim, which we're going through right now? You know, he had a solution for everything. His diet, you know, people say to me, oh, I'm trying this diet, I'm trying that diet, I'm overweight, I'm sick, I've got diet. I say, brother, the best diet is the Prophet ﷺ's diet. You leave a third of your stomach empty, you leave the other third for water, other third for food. Now do that diet and eat small meals, and you know that's exactly the diet 1400 years ago. It's proven today that you know it's the only diet that works. You know, don't get me wrong, if you're going to eat like a pig all day, it's natural you're going to get fat. So you know you
They're
can't
appreciating
do that and
the
say, what's the
bounties of
magic
Allah.
diet? So my advice to my brothers and sisters out there, and inshallah definitely to myself, is any obstacle you find, take the safe route. You know, people said music the issue. I said, okay, I'm going to do voice only, because I don't want one person, a parent, to go to get a copy of our film or go online, watch our film and say, no, he's got music. I wanted the ones that with or without music. In other words, everyone's
The safe option for all.
Safe option for everyone. It's not that I'm on the view of music's halal or haram. I leave that. I just leave things alone sometimes because I'm not a scholar. I let the scholars deal with it. But you know, that's in terms of doing things. Once you find an obstacle, it's not a matter of saying, you know, walk away. I could have walked away a long time ago, you know, and we wouldn't have what we have in terms of media. You know, I won't say I changed I'm a revolution in the Muslim media world, but you know, I got a lot of media companies to step it up. And you know, when I came in with the quality we were doing, a lot of the our old friends had to shift their game up and realize they couldn't continue doing the quality they were doing. So with that, you know, you're one person. Don't think you need millions of dollars, which is what I always thought. I need millions of dollars to do this. I just did it, you know, with a strong, reliance on Allah. And alhamdulillah, till now, you know, I just got off the phone with some guy in the Middle East, and I'm still asking, can you give us some funding, please? We're doing this, but we just want to do it on a much bigger scale. The demand is there for what we do. So,
Yeah. So, Subhi, what's the situation like with Islam Productions now? I know you guys are releasing the DVDs from all the lectures. So what other projects are involved in One Islam Productions?
Well, at the moment, I probably haven't even brought this out in public yet, but what we're trying to do, because as you know, with the world of YouTube, you know, a lot of people go on YouTube today, and it could be the silliest video of someone doing something silly, and
You'll hear.
get 200 million hits.
Yeah.
And it's like, you think, okay, so people are going on YouTube, and even is some things to do with Islam. Like we put some of our Zaki Nasheed on there recently. It's up to 150,000 within a year, and we thought, okay, there's something here. So I thought, well, I'm not going to wait around to build a TV station and all the rest of it. Why don't we, you know, get enough content and just put it online, and inshallah just rely on, you know, YouTube and other, you know, because internet is getting faster.
That's right.
5 years ago, forget it, you'd have to wait an hour for buffering and all the rest of it. But at the moment, we're looking at getting, inshallah, One Islam TV up and running, which won't be another TV station like many of our ones out there. Allah reward them. I don't like to put anyone down. Everyone who's started anything, it's a building block. I like to take that block and take it to another level. So rather than just a TV station with you know, as we say in the industry, talking heads, with just a brother or a sister or a sheikh standing in front of a camera just talking, I think what the youth want is more, you know, powerful, engaging programming, which is what we're inshallah able to do. And so with that, we're planning to do children's programming. Obviously we already have the Zaki series, but we want to build on that and do programming similar. But we're finding there's a gap between 11, 12-year-olds up to about 23. There's those youth that aren't really getting anything for them.
And they're, I think, the most vulnerable at that stage.
Yep, they're kind of in that.
Because you go
molding.
from, you know, listening to your mum's Zayn Bika in the car to, you know, getting to high school, and it's like, oh, you know, that's not cool anymore.
That's right.
And you're too kind of, you know, young to listen to the lectures and stuff that, you know, 20-year-olds listen to. And that vulnerable stage, subhanAllah, you know, it makes or breaks it.
That's the part that I've been working years on, and I thought, well, what are they watching? So we looked at, you know, what programming youth are watching, South Park, and they really don't have role models. Alhamdulillah, we have some, you know, great athletes like Hazem and Masri, you know,
Mondoon,
and others that are kind of a role model. You know, without them, it probably wouldn't have. You know, they'd have to go to 50 cents and, I don't know, 20 cents and I don't know what other football players are out there. But that's their role models. And if you look at these role models carefully, they, you know, are doing things that, you know...
the lifestyle that impersonate is not Islamic, yep.
It's a jahil lifestyle, you know, and we can't let our youth go there. We can't... You know,
so I hope you're not planning to funkify Zaki and make him the... Oh, okay.
No. Zaki's got an age limit up to about 10, 11. We're going to stop him at that age and say, okay, you butt out now.
Yeah.
But now we're developing new characters. We're working on a series similar to South Park.
Oh,
for the youth. It's pretty much for anywhere from about 13, 14 up to adults.
Wow.
And dealing with the community issues that we have, but more in a bit of comedy, a bit of fun. Similar to my brother Baba Ali, who you may know of, does the Ummah films on YouTube.
Yep.
Where he took issues and just put them out there in a funny way, and people accepted that.
That's right.
You know, people didn't like, or youth, they're very sensitive. They don't like being told what to do.
They don't like being preached to. Yeah. So he's saying in a funny.
He did it in a fun way. He was dressed like them, acted like them, spoke like them, but the message he gave them was, you know, that look, sisters, this is the issue with hijab. Look, brothers, we've got to be honest in our business dealings. But he put it in a nice way, and alhamdulillah, you know, a lot of
his hijab
guys,
one was the Mickey Mouse hijab.
Yeah, the hijab one, I know a lot of sisters that you cannot speak to them about the hijab. And as soon as he brought that out, a lot of people thought, wow. And a lot of sisters, yeah, just to have a laugh about it, just to leave them with something to think about.
Yeah.
You know, because you cannot change, you know, if anyone was going to change, it would have been the Prophet ﷺ's uncle. You know, it's as close as you get to someone. And that's the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, or Ibrahim alayhi salam. His own father was an idol.
Worshipper. Yep. Yeah. Well, brothers, so I think you've given a lot to think about. Just concluding remarks for the youth. You know, what do you want to tell the youth? I think, in your experience, a lot of them kind of are where you were at, or they're going through, you know, your transition midlife crisis stage, or some of them are at the stage you're at, inshallah. Yeah. What's just your final concluding words to the youth out there?
All right. Well, I want to tell them there's somebody out there that's pretty much their companion wherever they go, and that's the shaitan. The shaitan tricks you into thinking you're going to live forever. This is the one thing. At your age, you think you don't need your parents because you got your friends. You think you don't need money because somehow you'll get by. You don't have to pay rents or anything. But I've got to tell you, brothers, you know, you've only got, and sisters, is that you've only got about a couple of years of that freedom before reality hits. When you turn around and your friends are all on their way, working, families, you know, there's no way in the world you can rely on friends as much as you can rely on family, but more so on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you leave Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're finished. You know, it's almost like, a quick example is it's almost like, you know, someone who's adopted. You know, they've got the best parents in the world, and they're taking care of them. They've sent them to Harvard, and they've excelled. They're now a big CEO in a company, but their whole life, there's an empty feeling that who is my real mum or dad? They want to know their mum and dad. Now, this is just their parents. Now, who created you and your parents? You know, when you don't know who that person or who that being is, and you've lost that connection with the meaning of life and what's going to happen to me when I breathe my last breath and they throw me, not throw you, but put you underground. Not knowing that in life is why Oprah Winfrey, Brad Pitt, you just have to listen to their interviews and look in their eyes. They're extremely rich and successful, but they are the most unhappy people because they think they have everything, but they still don't understand why they're here and where they're going. So if you're living in life, my advice to you, brothers and sisters, you know, you're going to want to have fun, you're going to want to do all these things, you know, but these are all short-term. You know, short-term things that they're not going to last. Believe me, we've all gone through it. Your parents, one day, inshallah, if Allah guides you, you'll be saying the same thing to your children, not to waste their time. So I would say, you know, to make sure that you guard your life, whether it's your profession, personal life, to guard yourself from the shaitan.
Thank you so much, brother. And for those who do want more information about One Islam, where can they go?
Well, our website's got everything, just One Islam, so the number one, islam.net.net, oneislam.net. It'll link you to One for Kids and all the other little links we have, inshallah.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for all those beautiful, wise words. And for me, I knew of One Islam production and I've seen some of your work as well, but hearing your story, how it actually came about, is just like
amazing.
really. And I just also wanted to know if any of the people from young people or anybody from the community wanted to get involved with One Islam production in any way, to
what
work
can they
with
do?
you.
Yeah.
Can they actually do that, and how to go about that?
Well, look, for a few years now, we've been trying to establish some sort of a college, a film, where kids can come, youth that, I always say when I go to schools, I say amongst you there may be a Steven Spielberg, there might be someone amongst you who's a Cat Stevens, let's say, who can write songs, poetry, and this is something that we will never know until we give them that channel for them to come and sit down and see what they want to do as an alternative, because media is absolutely everywhere we look. Now the iPhones have changed the world again. Every time a new technology comes out, everything's relying on media. So, look, a lot of you do call us up. If they call us up, sometimes just to ask for advice, I'm very happy to give them advice. Next week, subhanAllah, I asked this question. Next week, we got a young guy doing work experience with us. He happens to be my nephew, so it's much easier for him. But he doesn't know what to do. I said, look, come do work experience for a week and see if you like it. But just another bit of advice is do whatever you choose in your career. Make sure you love what you do. Money will come and go, but happiness is the most important thing. So do what you love, and send us an email if you want to know or send us a script. Fool around on your phone, make a film, send it to us, and inshallah we'll have a look at it and tell you whether you should quit your day job or not.
Alright, once again, Jazakallah khair, brother Subhi, and inshallah good luck with your future adventures. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Ever been on the driving side and you're riding, you're looking through the glass of your car on the side? The engine's broken and the car is smoking and the dude is shaking cause the heat is baking. Or this cat's got a flat and the spare's all whack. No jack in the back and no clue where he's at. There ain't no real rush but you roll right by, not even asking the guy if he needs a supply. He might be alright and to pass ain't a sin, but within you feel bad in the state that he's in. How hard would it have been just to ask you okay? That might be the deed that you need to succeed. That might be the deed that will so please Allah that you're forgiven the sin and you did when you was living. A small little thing that can cling and just ring and will bring the blessing from Allah who's the king. We pass on them deeds cause they seem all small, but they might be the deeds that's the best of them all. Mad when I see all these passes I took on these small little deeds I just overlook.
I just can't believe small deeds that I overlook. Can you see little deeds that I overlook? And you read about it in my holy book. It says small deeds never overlook. I just can't believe.
Welcome back from the break, guys. Joining me in the studio today is Sabrine El Khodr, former director of Green Scarf Day and current director of Muslim Without Borders. Welcome to the show, Sabrine.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Thank you. Sabrine, I just wanted to, have a chat to you about activism in the Muslim community. Now, I know, mashallah, in, your very short, lifespan, like, as in you're young, I'm giving you a compliment, don't worry. Mashallah, you've managed to squeeze so much in, and in terms of activism in the Muslim community. Now, I know activism in the Muslim community is actually one of the hardest, and we've got most activists kind of trying to pull their hair out a couple of months into it. In your experience, what are some obstacles you faced as a, activist in our community?
Look, I think Muslim youth generally have a strong sense of community. So we like to get out there, we like to get involved, and we like to make a difference. Some of the obstacles which I've faced, I think one of the main issues has been lack of effective leadership within the Muslim community, particularly amongst the older generation. I found that over the past 5 or 6 years, I've been involved in most of the major organisations within our community, and you feel that you need to make your own way, you need to learn your own lessons without necessarily getting the right mentorship or the right leadership from the people that should be giving you that their experiences. Yep. I'm not making a blanket assumption. There are quite a few dynamic leaders out there that do focus on youth and do try to help youth develop their skills and leadership. But I think as a general rule, that's one major obstacle that I think the Muslim community faces that communities such as the Jewish community or the Christian community don't face. So that's definitely something which I think we need to work on as a community.
No, I think I definitely agree with you. And I think, another very related issue is that when there is leadership in the Muslim community, it's kind of like usually, I don't know how to phrase this, but kind of rigid, I think, in a sense, and not very flexible. So, youth feel that every time they do have someone to, report back to or account to that's from another older generation, they're kind of dealing with offense. And, and that's kind of really counterproductive to their efforts, because at times, they can be not supportive of innovative practices, because this is the way we've done it, it's worked, why I want to change things if it's not broken.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the major issues that's facing us at the moment, because we've got these archaic organisations that are being run by people that have been in those boards, or have been looking after the organisation for years and decades even, and they're so inflexible in the way that they think that it takes a long time for change to occur. And the beauty of youth is that we are very flexible and we are willing to make changes in order to see change. So when you have a situation where we have these organisations, and as I said, this is something I've faced myself, you enter those organisations and you see the inflexibility and this, archaic way of thinking, you can't break through that. And that in itself, creates a situation where you become disillusioned with your community and you just think, oh, what's the point? I can't break through their way of thinking. So I think definitely the older generation within these organisations need to realise that we are living in a very different time. We are living in different circumstances, and they need to make way for fresh blood to come in and make it appropriate to the times that we're living in.
And again, that's not to say that we don't appreciate their efforts and what they've done over the last 40, 50 years. Yep. We just think, okay, it's time to move on. Yep. Well, Sabrine, would you say that's a major part of what motivated you to start your own organisation with Green Scarf Day when you were at uni?
I'd say Green Scarf Day was, a reaction to not having an outlet for youth to be involved in anti-poverty work within the Muslim community. At the moment, we have a couple of, fantastic organisations, actually several fantastic organisations that focus on development and aid, but I found that they didn't really focus on youth. They didn't help youth get involved in these issues. It was very much a case of, fundraise some money for us, we'll go do the work, and that's the end of the story. So having always had a great interest in social justice and particularly anti-poverty work, I felt that youth needed a way of being able to express that concern and doing it in a way that was appropriate to them, that was going to be fun for them. So the idea was just about getting youth excited about raising awareness, raising funds for development projects overseas. Yeah. So having said that, I did actually face a bit of resistance at first by a few people that I suggested the idea to, who said, oh, it won't work, it's not going to be, people aren't going to be interested. But alhamdulillah, it worked out to be quite a good movement.
Green Scarf Day is primarily a youth organisation, and it runs in most campuses at the moment by youth and for youth. Yep. So do you feel like working with this very youth-based organisation and working with traditional organisations that have that, elders you need to report back to, did you like working there feel different? Like, did you feel like, for example, your creative talents weren't, kind of constrained, that you felt like you just, you could think things and then the next day go into action them without feeling, oh my God, what's the reaction going to be?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a Green Scarf Day is, as you said, it's by youth, for youth. So our project, for the last couple of years, we've been raising funds for education-based projects, and going into the idea that Green Scarf Day, the idea is that we want to not just provide band-aid solutions to poverty, we want to actually build projects that will impact local communities in the long term. So we see education as a way of doing that. And one of the primary concerns for me over the years has not just been about raising money for these projects, but there's only so much change that you can make through, $15,000, $20,000 that we generally raise on average. The greater impact that I was looking for was changes that we'd see within the youth being a part of Green Scarf Day, and those changes were using their skills to raise awareness and to raise the money for the programs that we were running. Being able to develop their abilities by being involved in a program that they could control. that they could change themselves without having to report back to the elders in other organisations. They were completely in control of their own project, and that I think is what has attracted a lot of people to it, where they could freely express themselves within a context that was, I guess, freely
like very fertile for their creative talents to germinate. Sabrine, can you tell us, in your experience then, what did these youth actually achieve? Because usually it's seen like, okay, here's a platform, what are you going to achieve? Can you tell us, for example, some success stories or someone in this organisation that kind of inspired you, that you, for example, they came in and you thought, yeah, whatever, and then they shocked you, for example? Or
well, one example, and I don't know if he's going to be happy about me mentioning his name on air, but Jamal, who's a part of your team. He was a huge part of Green Scarf Day for the last couple of years, and he definitely raised a lot of awareness, and his marketing abilities are phenomenal.
I have to give it to him. Those shirts were pretty funky.
So I guess that's one example, and he's gone on to do bigger and better things now. So I think it's definitely given, at least within my circle, I think people have it's given them the opportunity to realise that they can make a difference, and they actually can be fundamentally involved in the change process. And that's really what my aim was in Green Scarf Day, more so even than the development aspect. It was about mobilising youth to realise their capabilities. And I think it's, at least to some extent, helped in that way.
Sabrine, I think an essential part of, for example, campaigns like Green Scarf Day that are occurring within the Muslim community but are not Islamic or theological per se. So, it's not related to, Islamic matters, but it has that Islamic tinge. Do you think these projects such as these that are not Islamic per se are actually important in that it brings out people that are kind of the borderline, that don't feel, for example, that they have the Islamic skills, or that they feel scared to engage with the Muslim community? So this is kind of like a professional neutral zone, and anyone has skills, for example, for marketing, for like selling, for things like that. Do you feel that projects such as these that are kind of neutral and not Islamic per se give a platform of engagement for these borderline youth?
Definitely, and I think there's a greater scope within our community to move into that kind of activism, because, and I've been told this several times, that Green Scarf is almost like the Muslim answer to Oxfam, where it's fundamentally a Christian organisation, but because it's not advertised as such, it maintains a neutrality that other organisations can't, and so it attracts a much wider range of people. And I think that's really important, because we need to realise that we're not all, for example, extremely religious, or we're not all necessarily going to be attracted to the traditional dawah streams. A lot of people are interested in social justice that doesn't necessarily have an overtly Islamic tinge to it. Exactly. So, and even in my experience with Green Scarf Day, I've had people involved that were from all ends of the spectrum, from all political ideologies, from all Islamic ideologies, and we don't clash, because we're not there to talk about Islam. We're there to talk about humanity, and we're there to make a change for humanity in general. So, yeah. And
again, that's not to say that those values are not Islamic.
Of course.
All we're saying is that the framework that's being used to launch them isn't an overtly, dogmatic religious platform that can turn off some people that are not,
Exactly. And I think that's also important for even dawah. I mean, dawah doesn't have to be, convert to Islam. This is what Islam's about. Yeah. Just going out there and showing
through character,
through the work that you do, that is dawah at the end of the day. So we don't need to go out and say, hey, we're Muslim, hey, we're Islamic, and we're this. People can see that through the work that we're doing.
Sabrine, I know you're moving on, inshallah, to Muslims Without Borders. Can you tell me what Muslims Without Borders is?
Yep, so I guess on the same strain, the idea is it's about youth being involved in the whole development and aid process. It's a bit more of a structured approach than I guess Green Scarf Day was. Various projects that we're working on would be things that, such as Muslim Aid and Human Appeal, would be working on, but the difference is that we're entirely focused on youth developing those programs and those projects, and not simply fundraising for those projects and programs,
that they lead the
actually managing those projects and programs. And as I said, for me, that's really important, because it's a mechanism for youth to develop the skills that they need to be successful in their own lives. So it's really two-pronged. It's about development, but it's also about our own personal development.
Excellent. Sabrine, I know a lot of people kind of say, you know, they wake up in the morning, they can't even manage to squeeze in uni and work and things like that. And mashallah, you've done so much. Like, what's your kind of drive when you wake up in the morning? Like, what's your motivation to squeeze so much in? Because unfortunately, like, alhamdulillah, a lot of youth are very active, but it seems like the active ones are too active, and then there's a whole bunch of inactive, right? What's your, you know, inshallah, your words might be inspiration to some. What's your kind of, you know, motivation, your catalyst? Like, what drives you?
No, I guess you wake up every morning and you see the news and you watch the YouTube videos of all these atrocities happening around the world and just the general, you know, hardships and suffering that you see. And how can you not do something? That's really the question. How can you wake up and not do something about it? How can you just go to school, go to uni, go to work, come home, watch TV and go to sleep? How can you find meaning if you're not giving back to the society that's bred you? So I think for me, as I said, having, and also just from my own personal background, I have a general sense of responsibility towards society and humanity. And it's also been fostered by my Muslim background as well, that should be driving you to be wanting to help others. So in terms of how to do it, I mean, I'm working full-time at the moment and still managing to do other things as well. And I'm not saying it's definitely quite difficult, but if you can organise your time effectively, that's the best way to go about being as productive as you possibly can be.
I think it's that sense of purpose makes you make the time for it. Once you're, you know, something drives you, then you'll go to all odds to ensure that thing. Yeah. Well, Sabrine, thank you very much for joining us in the studio today. Sabrine, I know your words, inshallah, should have, you know, motivated others. If they are interested in getting involved in some of your programs, whether it be Green Scarf Day or Muslims Without Borders, where should they go?
So just for the Muslims Without Borders website at the moment is www.mwbrelief.org.au. If you just go to the contact section, there'll be some emails that you can contact us on. I've got a number of exciting projects coming up, one of which is actually going to be an international volunteer troop. So if you're interested in that, send us an email. So we need expressions of interest to see whether it will get off the ground or not.
Yep.
So just pop us an email and we'll give you something to do.
Inshallah. We'll also post the link to the Facebook page for the Yfactor. And Sabrine, you're available on the Yfactor page if anyone asks more questions and stuff. All right. Jazakallah khair. Thank you again. Thank you very much for coming in today. Thanks.
Oh, the moon has come, the day is done, the night has covered up the sun. I have stood so often before you to pray, but I wonder, Allah, tell me, what did I do today? Did I remember the words of Al-Fatiha? Did I take time to thank you for all that I have? Did I call on you to guide my way? Tell me, what did I do today? I have whispered to you as I made ruku, Subhana Rabbi Al-Adi. But was my faith bright or grey? Oh Allah, tell me, what did I do today? Did I smile at my brother? Was I kind to my mother? Did I teach another something that I know? Or did my love of this world lead me astray? Tell me, what did I do today? Sami Allahu liman hamida.
Alright guys, that brings us to the end of the episode this week, unfortunately. SubhanAllah, I think very, very, you know, inspirational, motivating words from brother Subhi and sister Sabrine, and it just makes you feel like, wow, there's so much out there to be done. Let's just get out there.
And these are like two people from our community, and such an inspiration. I think it should be an inspiration for all of us. And that we can actually do so much as individuals, definitely.
Like, you know how we always complain, like, these were dealing with the conditions we were dealing with, you know? It's not another community. They had the same issues, and subhanAllah, if they can do it, right, we can do it. So that's our take-home message for this week. All right, so quickly, just for events this week, inshallah, IDCA will be having an international guest speaker, Dr. Abdulaziz Al-Umari, on Saturday, November the 19th, from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at Masjid Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, which is at 361 Chisholm Road, Auburn. So visit IDCA's website or their Facebook page for more information, but that's international speaker Dr. Abdulaziz Al-Umari. Now, Al Ghazali Centre, the Mizan Living in Sydney, is having their kayaking in November. So if you're interested in kayaking, that will be November the 26th at 8:30 a.m. till 11 a.m. at Ocean World Beach, West Esplanade, Manly, New South Wales, Australia. If you are interested in joining this kayaking adventure, email Farah, Farah, at alghazali.org if you have any inquiries and for registrations. Now, there's another Al Ghazali event.
Yeah, it's called Capturing Harmony. It's going on until March. It's a competition. There's 3 competitions. It's anything and everything to do with nature. One of them is adult photography competition, young writers essay competition, and children's art competition. For all the information, you can go to alghazali.org.
Oh, it sounds really cool. Like and I think it's really interesting because it's this alternative, to usual Islamic competitions. Like this is,
Yes, but also it's, I think, to get people to actually connect with the nature.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Speaking of connecting, Al Khodr is letting you connect with your heart at the Heart Therapy course, Purification of the Heart, inshallah. An awesome course by an awesome speaker, Sheikh Yahya Ibrahim. It will actually be December the 3rd at 8:30 a.m. till 7 p.m. Saturday and Sunday at UWS. Now, you actually have to register from now and be quick because places are selling out very quickly. So if you actually always wanted to learn about anger, backbiting, slander, envy, lying, riya, love of this world, miserliness, hatred, all these things, inshallah, the Sheikh will take, we'll take you through practical steps of how to get rid of these in your life. So if you are interested, you can visit alkauthar.org.au. So that's alkauthar.org. Oh, sorry, there's no AU, so just .org. Also, Al Bayan Institute on Ferndale Street in Granville is having a Proving the Existence of God and Countering Atheism and Orientalism. It is a 10-week course by Sheikh Wissam Charkawi, and he's actually really funny, so if you go. If you're interested, you can actually visit Al Bayan's Facebook page, or you can ring up 0404 856 048. So that's a 10-week course by Al Bayan on Proving the Existence of God and Countering Atheism. In terms of Islamic studies, Dar Aisha enrollments are actually opening up, and they start from tomorrow. So if you're interested, make sure you give Dar Aisha a buzz on 0420 902 928, or you can visit Dar Aisha, DAARAISHA.org for more information. And Isra and Charleston, the enrollments for that course are also opening. Make sure you check out Isra's website. They actually have a special information session on the 27th of this month, and if you are interested in attending, you can ring up 9649 9040. And just before we conclude, just to let you know again, Sounds of Light is on this year again in Sydney and in Melbourne. In Sydney, it will be the 17th of December at 6 p.m. at All Phones Arena, Olympic Boulevard, Sydney Olympic Park. The tickets are $30 or $60 depending on how rich you are, and you're going to have Maher Zain, Irfan Makki, Echo Golf, Mishari Arada, and Azhar Osman. Did you know Azhar Osman's coming? He's the comedian. He's a comedian from Allah Made Me Funny with a long bushy beard.
Oh,
yeah, he's pretty funky. So yeah, I think I'm just going to go for Azhar Osman. So that's Sounds of Light, and I know they actually have volunteering positions open too. So if you are interested in volunteering at the Sounds of Light, just to put on your resume, if you actually go on the Sounds of Light, no,
that sounds horrible.
No, that's a side benefit, putting on your resume. But trust me, it's a lot of fun. I volunteered last year. It was actually fun. So go on the website. They have a couple of questions you need to fill out, and inshallah they'll accept you as a volunteer. So with that, I think there's nothing left. Anything else you want to mention, Murisa?
I love this radio station.
And thank you, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks,
it was really
me.
Enjoyable, and I think me and Murisa had so much fun off air than on air. Anyway, with that, we'll leave you to it, listeners. Again, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for listening. Join us on the Yfactor group. Mashallah, we're having very, very live discussions on Facebook. Everything from the gay marriage amendment to Lebanese politics and how they chuck glass cups at each other. I'm not kidding. Check out our Facebook page, and yeah, just get on there and you can get to know some of the other people on the page. So with that, I'll leave you to it. You're listening to the Yfactor on 87.6 FM. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sister, let your wife know that you miss her. Know that you can never give up. When you fall to the floor, I'm the reason you must get up. Love, I'm a blessing from God, so why you don't use me more? It's so odd. You need love, we need love. Love is all we need. Love is all we need.